taxes was waiting around for your taxes to be done, which led to worrying about not getting any money back. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes in a day to get you up to $4,000 fast with a refund advance loan. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Expert filing only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Refund advance has $0 loan fees and 0% APR. Refund advance loans may be issued by First Century Bank, N.A. or WebBank. Terms apply, subject to approval.
He has to... And she would sit down and communicate with us what he was doing. He's on deployment. He's trying to save another nation. Those people might have freedom. And my son looked at me and said, Dad, it's a 2-year deployment. I call you every night. And I'll see you every week. We all have to make sacrifices. Complaining isn't enough. Stop it. Get busy, write some checks, and let's get moving. Amen?
Hello.
So why don't we have a question and answer period? We weren't going to be able to have an hour, we have about half an hour. Actually, I have a question. We thought all of these speakers could come up here and you could ask whoever you want questions. But I'm going to be the first one. Wanted to ask you what district you're, I know you named the district, but so often we don't know other districts other than our own. What cities?
I represent the 44th District, which is Ventura County. And the interesting thing about this, what I didn't share in my presentation, is that I've traveled to 14 states in the United States where we do events called renewal projects, where we go into these and we invite pastors and their wives and we educate them on mobilizing their congregations to engage in the political process. What we do is spiritual and the byproduct is political. And so as we've done this, we've removed sitting Supreme Court justices in Iowa. It was Mike Huckabee, my friend who's endorsed me, who said that he attributed his victory over McCain in the Iowa caucus on the model that we set up. He won Super Tuesday, outspent 40-1 based on the model that we've established.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live coverage. We have transferred over to the SACHETS radio network. We are making that attempt now.
So with this model, 44th District, we're focusing everything. I had no union money, I had no lobbyist money, everything was
yeah.
And we beat them. We were outspent 5-1, over $1 million dropped on us, and we didn't just beat them, we thumped them. And we're going to go on to beat the Democrat, and we're going to prove the model works, and we're going to roll it up and down the state. But this is the prototype. So help me. All right. VictoryMcCoy.com. 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 Do I have donation envelopes? I am not the world's best politician. VictoryMcCoy.com.
So all of the candidates come up here and we'll, I'll be talking political. All of the speakers that would like to come up so that we might be able to ask some questions. And just line up here. If we just stand on that pulpit. And just not only to I think we had fun with them. I spoke to him outside and he was pick up by him. And Debbie, we need you.
All right, good evening, folks. This is Jason Miller, your live the Eagle Forum 14th Annual Conference. They have decided to do an impromptu question-and-answer question. Of course, we're going to take that live. We welcome those of you joining us already on BTR already. We are awaiting our switch over to the SHR Media Networks for our affiliates over there on our national audience. So we're going to go ahead and send it over the Q&A question right now.
We have to constantly take this effort. Why isn't the assumption rather than we have freedom in mind?
Before you answer that, I think the best way to do it is anybody that has a question they want to ask.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we welcome those of you just joining us on our second part of our coverage on the SHR Media Networks. We now send it back up to the question and answer session that is now in progress.
The good news is we are seeing major cracks in their foundation over the issues of it. They just had a one-young Superior Court decision that came down with our case. We're very supportive of it. LA Superior Court judge doing a tenure is not to be protected, not protected anymore. And now I think they give you a huge weakening of the union. And then we also see the Choose Trade program that we've also started to empower people to all use the experience that the union said. So I think there's a lot of opportunities there. And then we're also hoping to pray the Supreme Court, hopefully, will come out with a decision regarding taking advantage of board participation of all public media workers in the United States.
I've been having difficulty, and I agree with everything about it, a lot of difficulty getting into churches. A lot of it is basically that same pastor that if we give 2 o'clock, we can't hear anything else. However, a lot of times they agree completely with what the just Judeo-Christian beliefs and conflicts in politics. So as a pastor, especially as a Calvary Chapel pastor, what would you recommend doing to get into the doors, or is there anything that can be done? Appreciate that.
As a Calvary Chapel pastor, we is apolitical. And what I've noticed with the congregation is the first thing we need to do is educate the pastors. The pastors are skeptical, and you can only lead pastors with another pastor, at least what I've experienced at this point. And so this is that prototype idea. What we need to do with the pastors is they're tired of parachurch ministries. I just want to tell you that. I'm speaking candidly, I'm a realist. Pastors are sick of parachurch ministries. They want to come in, take all their congregants' mailing lists. They want to promote their parachurch ministry. They want to milk them. And then when everything goes wrong with policy guys in Sacramento or in Washington, they batter the pastors, and the pastors are just finished with parachurch ministries. They're tired of them. I love Tony Perkins. I love FRC, David Barton. All those men are policy men with the idea to mobilize boots on the ground. So when pastors can see a tangible result, for example, in our district, it's 39% Democrat, 35% Republican. If we get 7,000 registered voters within the 450 evangelical churches, we now dominate. And I took 2 Samuel 23:11, which is a story about one of David's mighty men called Shema. He was told to protect the lentil field from the Philistines. Everyone failed. He stood his ground and defeated them. Lentils were the cheapest crop. I call them a bean patch. And so I call it bean patch politics. And I get together with the pastors in my community for a prayer meeting. I befriend them, get to know them well, and I share with them that we are the keepers of this bean patch. And I show them the disconnect between the pulpit. As I start to communicate that, I'm saying local politics, there's no money in it, no power in it. And
so none of these parachurch ministries are going to come and try to milk you. Let's take a hold of it ourselves, and let's win this and start to mobilize boots on the ground. We have the largest volunteer base of any campaign in over 20 years in California. We had over 200 volunteers. When Neil Kashkari was along with Mario De La Pedro's assemblyman, and they had 14 precinct walkers, we had 67. When Mario was with Jeff Durrell, they had 9, we had 43. We had flash mobs on every corner. We had signs everywhere. People want to be a part of something that's local. They're sick of politicians that come into the church and use the church, and they're also sick of parachurch ministries that use the church. They want something tangible, something real that will change their community. If you can communicate that, you'll own that pastor. You'll be blessed to have you minister to him.
Pastor McCoy, you really partially answered my question, but I'd really like for you to expand on this. What do I do as an ordinary citizen at my church to get them involved?
You can pick cotton a piece at a time or use a combine. Pastors are combines. If your pastor isn't going to be the guy to do that, find a church where there will be a pastor. Support it. My church is growing because people want to be a part of it. All of a sudden, the pastors, it's a business to them, and all you have to show them, whether they're a senior soul of the church or they're like, it's not demeaning, but like John MacArthur, Grace Community, he doesn't do politics either. It doesn't matter what angle of the spectrum you're on, you're not engaging in the civic arena. And so if you can show them that a church grows when you start to engage in this civic arena, then the pastors will start to change there too. You can also show them that the more liberal the government, the smaller the tithing. Seeker-sensitive pastors, right away, you just show them under Carter and under Reagan that they want to be a part of it. Move the pastor. You have people in your congregation that are equipped to do this. Their hands are passionate for battle. But the pastor has to move them from the pulpit. He's got to lead them. If your pastor's not leading them, find a pastor who will. That's my
also real quick comment. So great starting point, I think Mr. Rob will agree with this, is voter registration. If you simply say, hey, look, I understand you don't want to be involved politically. I totally understand. I understand. But of course, we as Christians should be good citizens. A church that is filled with the love of Christ is a church that loves. A church that loves and cares about people outside their church walls. And people who care about people who care about people outside the church walls vote. It's a part of our testimony of being genuine in our love and concerning the pastor's Christian. And I'm sure you as pastor agree with that. So where do we have our voter registration here? And
I would also add that we have the ATAT voter guide that we put together. And as you start to get these pastors to understand our community, our name patch, then they accept those voter guides. You've got parachurch ministries that will print all these voter guides, and they sit in a warehouse somewhere. I've watched them take them out to the dumpster and throw them away, and it's a gimmick. You do it locally with a name patch voter guide that is sent out from people within the district, it will work. So do voter guides locally, your own little voter guide, and just as Brad said, do voter registration. You move 7,000 votes, 80% of the people in the evangelical community go conservative. Do it a lot. Thanks, Brad.
I have a couple of questions for Brad Dacus. The first one is for a person who is in a homeschool group or private school who says that they are not using Common Core, but I just saw a video recently that may be using the same curriculum that is taking on the Common Core standards. Would it make sense to do an opt-out form to get that school? Or is it just mainly for public schools?
That's a really good point. Actually, the rights we're talking about, similar to the public schools that we're dealing with. That said, I think you made a very strong point. We discovered that many private schools, conservative, evangelical schools, holistic Catholic, along with Lutheran and mainline, they're using Common Core material. And so you need to confront them. I personally done this myself. Even the school my children go to. It's real life skating. But anyway, that's so important. But also homeschoolers need to recognize as well that while the SAT and those little general tests are changing, I believe that we're going to have alternative assessment tests. SAT scores have already, as far as people participate in, and so I think it's a real positive.
We last year gave a copy of my book to a very large private school that's associated with the Center of the Bible Church. And so the principal has this information. He was already prepared. And so if you go into their school now, they have a big poster that says, our only core is Jesus Christ. So rather than give a opt-out, just talk about it. And then the other question is, what about opt-out with doctors, with pediatricians, with them wanting to take your child privately to ask questions, psychological, medical? No, I understand, but is there any kind of opt-out form for that sort of thing?
I know they'll opt-out form like that. Like you as a parent, still a parent, and you can say, no, my child is not going to have this, we're done. And you can say, that's something that's very problematic, unfortunately, we need legislative reform. In order to have a legislative reform, we need to get involved in getting people like this gentleman into office. That is something that is a legislative matter we can have that reform should do expeditiously. Yeah, there are more stories, lots of them.
Got a question for Brad, or anyone who wants to answer. We don't have to wear Brad's vocal cords out. I've been working diligently with the Irvine Unified School District and my local PTA regarding this issue of opt-in, opt-out. And what I've found, and I want to clarify because of the first question, on the Education Code 51513, it's my understanding that relates to non-curriculum, that you cannot opt out of curriculum activities per se. But when it's non-curriculum, when it is like the Healthy Kids Survey that asks sexual questions and other, you can there's no such thing legally as opt-out or passive consent. That every student must opt in, but that the school districts are illegally working it as a passive consent issue. And so I'm currently working on that right now.
Let me just say this. If there are any parents whose rights are violated in this regard, please contact us immediately. I'm spending for 2 inches when I have an opportunity to sue on something. Okay, so seriously, all we need is to offer just one parent to rise up, and then we're able to get out that information. So information through email form is fantastic, but a real expeditious way is to send someone to us right from the violated and let them take that on insurance.
The story that Brad Dacus told you of what went on in Center of the High School, it was actually an assembly that these students saw. The entire school, 1,700 students, and it was 3 simulated sex scenes behind a curtain. The assembly was called Sex and Stuff. There were many parents that had submitted opt-out forms that their children were not supposed to see any program, anything that had to do with sexuality. They did not even honor one single one of those opt-out forms. So it only took one parent in that case, who with Brad's help was there ready to have a lawsuit, that the school district backed down, and that's how we got our parental rights group. So now, before they put on his bench, it's out of the question. In their policy statement they came up with, there will never be another assembly like this, and there will not be a week of diversity that this assembly was leading into. And it will only be a day of dialogue, they entitled it, and the next time a school tried that, they had to invite me to come and help with the preparations for it. So I did that. It's a wonderful day of dialogue with all of our speakers, and that's the last time it's ever been tried in this city.
Real quick question here. Orlean, is Santa Rosa a very conservative like Bakersfield, or is it really?
My name is Judy Ahrens, and I moved to Southern Oregon, and I found out the frustrations with these people being very independent, that try to get these conservative groups, they all act independently. You can't get them glued together. So that's been one of my frustrations. If they're not equal form, or even though you think on the same thing, they're like molecules in boiling water. So I just want to ask Tim Donnelly, or whoever might even be able to answer my question, trying to get these people who are thief-minded people, and you're up against Goliath like you've been. Just try to get people mobilized, even for group get-togethers. Like I go to commission meetings on a regular basis to get these people that are great people. It's like roping them, gathering them to get into focus. That's my question because you.
Well, I think the simple answer is a great question. Because a lot of us, we know of all these other groups, but they never seem to work together. Yeah. In our campaign, we brought the most disparate, diverse groups. I mean, we had conservatives and Muslims working side by side. And I think if people believe there's a cause, in that it's a common cause. And the bottom line is, well, the cause here is liberty, not more government control. But the bottom line is that we all realize that government's become the greatest threat to our future. And you might approach it over here at this table, I'm just guessing Common Core. Where another table over here might be Second Amendment, another table might be, faith and freedom and issues like that. But if you can unite them into one cause, and everybody can see that they will benefit.
Yes.
And I think right now it's elections. It's getting Ralph McCoy to beat the machine that's going to come out against him, and that's going to take boots on the ground. Well, we can all take everything we learned from my campaign, and I intend to bring bodies from all over the state who have told me we are just chomping at the bit. Now, mind you, if we had won, I don't think people would be willing to work as hard. I don't know why, but something happened when we lost that solidified and brought us together and has begun to bond us. So my goal is to take everything we've learned and turn us into the most effective army on the face of the earth, because we're an army of liberty.
I wanted to say that as an evangelical pastor, I went back to Salt Lake City with Kevin Hamilton, who's in the Quorum of the 70 with the LDS, as President, Bishop Mackey, and President Jordan, President Osborne. I shared with him this vision, but I told him, I said, theologically, we are at different areas. If we don't stand together, we're going to fall apart. I said, you guys have three heavens, no hell. I have a heaven and a hell. Mine's a little tougher sell, but we laugh at stuff like that. And you bridge that. But they also understand that there's not going to be proselytizing, but we work together for the sake of our civil right, which is the First Amendment. And then finally, in addition, I went into the heart of Democratic territory at Oxnard, where they said as a white male, I'm not going to get any votes. I met with Bishop Broderick Huggins, whose son, Broderick Huggins II, was shot and killed by Alameda police officers 13 times. And he is the pastor of the largest African American church in Oxnard, and he's a lifelong Democrat. And I said, you want to achieve welfare for your people, and I desire the same thing. But if the government does it, 85 cents goes to overhead and 15 cents gets to the media. What the private enterprise does is 75 cents gets to the need, 25 cents goes to overhead. We want the same thing. Let's just go about different ways. He said, Rob, we'll work through that, but I trust you. And so he told all of his people on Sunday, he said, I'm voting for Ralph McCoy, but I can't legally tell you from the pulpit who you're allowed to vote for. But I can say this theologically, and this is what he said, follow me as I follow Christ. And then finally, please, everybody, I know I pitched victorymccoy.com. Don't send me a dime. Send it to Tim Donnelly. Let's kill that debt that he had to incur by sacrificially serving. Send the money to Tim. Every penny comes out. Let's give it to Barrett Harris. Okay? Okay? Right?
I'd like to tell you about some success we've had in Nevada in trying to unite different groups. I'm the state president of the Nevada Eagle Forum, and as I told you in my talk, I'm a full-time citizen and paid lobbyist in the Nevada legislature. But one of the things that I have done in order to reach out is that I always give credit to everyone and give them the opportunity to do what I'm doing. I taught 4 citizen legislative workshops around the state. We expected about 40 people in Vegas. We had 80 people there. Why? Because we make it simple. There were organizational heads from 10 different organizations there. And what we did was provide our information about how they could simply become a citizen lobbyist, be involved in their state, by their computer. They could do it in their own home. And they could take that and send it to their own people if they agreed with it. We
They just asked for credit that we actually wrote the alert. And what we were able to do by providing our information for free, we did have an opportunity for them to support us because I can't drive back and forth 330 miles twice a week for free. And my friends over there. But what we were able to do by providing that for everyone who wanted it for free and like allowing them to determine what issues they wanted to become involved in, because we covered over 400 bills. That way, they were allowed to become united with us and participate. And if we had a hearing, we told them all we wanted as many people to come and participate as possible. Do we care who gets the credit? No. Only God deserves the credit. Duty is ours, and John Cynthia said, duty is ours, results are God. So we provided the leadership, we gave everybody the ability to participate, and we united many different groups together in order to have success. I told you the defeated Planned Parenthood, which was a miracle. Yeah. So this is what can happen when you aren't worried about who gets the credit and who gets the money. If you just do your job, God will provide you with the resources you need to do what you need to do. And if you participate in that way and spread the information and the opportunity to participate, it will happen. But you have to put your human nature aside. We're all very territorial. And we have to set that aside and do it for the glory of God and do it for our grandchildren. Otherwise, we will fail. And if we can cooperate, we ourselves have to have that mindset first. We can't expect other people to do it if we're not ourselves willing to do it. So we gave more information to everyone so they can participate, and they united with us in a much more powerful way than we could have done ourselves, because we wanted to be engaged with them. And they only participated as they themselves were willing and interested in doing. And that's what it takes. We have to be the ones that provide it, and they have to make the choice. It's been very successful in Nevada and the legislature being able to do that. And you have to set aside those things for your personal interest.
This comment or question will be for you, Pastor. But the preface of it would be that congratulations to Eagle Forum for its tremendous afternoon and morning of covering the woman's not to diminish the significance of Common Core, Agenda 21, or other things, but to point out that, in my estimation, this is the judgment of God on America. And the reason is, what would be the what would be the cause for this judgment? And I submit to your consideration, it is a national policy of shedding innocent blood, wrapped up in Roe v. Wade, and started in 1974, and it continues to this day. Nothing in the history of America competes with that. Slavery was the closest thing, and that was revocable and retrieved. A dead baby is not. So, Pastor, I commend you. You are restoring the fabric of the Black Robe Regiment. You are part of it. You are fulfilling the wall of separation as being a one-way wall. You're putting the pulpit into politics and getting politics out of the pulpit. That is your task. I commend you for that. I'm sorry I haven't heard of you many times before, but I'm going to be talking to you later. My question, finally, with that preface, so that I hope the audience understands the gravity of abortion. Well, my question, Pastor, is we go to pastors, we talk to them, and they say, Bob, our job is saving souls. Okay? They are pro-life. They support a crisis pregnancy center days early, but they are just outsourcing their duty of ending the abortion holocaust. How do you approach pastors when they tell us we save souls and that's it?
The same thing with politics is also with the abortion issue. Stand to Reason is a great organization where you share with them the SLED acronym, which is Science, Level of Development, Environment, Degree of Dependency. As long as they know how to defend the position of abortion within the community, pastors will do it, but they don't know how to defend it. And hands up, stand to reason. It's Greg Koehle, yeah. So when they understand that acronym, they're far more willing to engage. But here is the disconnect for pastors. I'm going to tell you candidly. The disconnect for pastors is that folks will come to them in their congregation and say they need to be more pro-life. So the pastor makes a stand on pro-life, but we are so segmented in our mindset as a voting bloc, and we're ignorant as Christians that we only vote life, and we only support a pastor in this respect. We're cut and dry, so everything has to be black and white. But in politics, the edges are gray. For example, if I go up to Sacramento and they put before me a parental notification bill that's going to pass, and it looks like they'll have the votes to pass it, Lord willing, someday. But in addition, they're going to attach to it funding for Planned Parenthood. Now listen, I will vote for that bill. Politics is different than the ministry. The ministry is a clean-cut line, black and white. But in politics, the reason why we won World War II is because FDR and Churchill sat next to Stalin in Malta. And Russia lost more people than all other nations combined in World War II. And they figured out how to make alliances. That's what politics is. We in the church have to have that mindset and support people operating in that context. And it's the same with the pastor. It's to man's benefit to overlook an offense, be patient with him. He's a work in progress. But if we don't get what we want with the pastor, we carpet bomb. And we just kick him to the side. And there's a bunch of people out there that just want to be catered to. So there's a fine line between being militant and being loving. Work with that pastor. Be patient. Educate. Pray for him. But also support him. You know, the definition of friends, when the whole world goes out, they come in. You make sure you come in for that pastor. Amen?
I've heard Pastor McCoy say, don't talk about the conspiracy theory.
I said, don't focus on those at the expense of local issues. I believe in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's what I have to say about that. I think you should focus on those things, even as a local issue. I would not describe myself as a believer. We're now complaining on the United Nations Agenda 21. In fact, I was lenient on birth control and pro-choice, and it is because of the United Nations Agenda 21 that I have found God. This is a good versus evil battle. And the deeper you get into the document under United Nations Agenda 21, it's absolutely the umbrella for everything that we've talked about today. From religion to population to education, health, land use, private property, Agenda 21 is a common thread in all of this. And I think that if you take it on as if it's too big, you're already giving up on the battle. I didn't know anything about it 5-6 years ago. I know almost, well, not everything about it, but I know enough that every day on the plane today, I will pull out an Agenda 21 book, and I'm going to be gasping on the plane. And I'm going to be like, I'm going to be in the Middle East, but in railway speed yet. There's going to be a person on the left and a person on the right, and they're going to hear me gasping and like turning pages and highlighting. And they're going to look. They're going to look, and I'm going to say, they're going to say, well, there's going to be a conversation. At the grocery store, I tell them every day about having to buy a plastic bag, and the price of food. And I can say, you know why? And I do this every single day in almost every single conversation. That is the only way we are going to get the masses to join us. Not be afraid of conspiracy theories, because we're not the conspiracy theorists. We have to be close to it. So you remember that and be proud. And I'm not, you know. So anyway.
All of you are absolutely wonderful. We're so proud of all of our speakers, and we have special gifts for you. So with the help of me and Dr. Winston, I'd like to have you take a please go over the collective.
smoke from the room. We have lightsabers.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're wondering what's going on, all the speakers got lightsabers here up on the stage. A very good gift for all the speakers who are there today. Makeshift lightsabers. These are actually real nice ones, too.
Philosophically does not believe that the women are going to the military. So that's why they have the lightsabers. For all of our wonderful women speakers, we have a wonderful freedom beautiful thing, which is sort of a wonderful diagram that this is really about freedom of the future. Each one of them have an instruction on the inside to autograph to them, and it says, may the freedom force. And
we should note, ladies and gentlemen, those lightsabers were for the men who spoke. The women who spoke got something a little different.
What a wonderful day to have our conference. So you all get an American flag that helps remember how important it is to stand for liberty, stand for all that this beautiful flag symbolizes. And we are so grateful to have these wonderful speakers. We hope you all got a picture of them all together. And I also wanted to make mention, here is the whole program put together and planned. I think it is actually ready for you. I'll be late this conference before that. In about 40 minutes. So that gives you time, those who are planning to go to the private reception afterwards, or first the raffle, of course. And then there's a private reception that you can go and have pictures with all of these wonderful honored guests. And then the 6 o'clock meeting on my room if you want to help organize your Fight Clinic for. I wanted to end with just a statement I just heard from Anne, the daughter of Celeste last week. She called to let me know that Celeste is doing well. Her surgery was because she had a collapsed disc through the dumbbell. And so they had to operate on the son. They have put something that will submerge something in there that will make it so that she can eventually walk. She's still in the hospital, but she knows that God can touch her. She wants you to know how much she appreciates it. So I wanted to also tell you one other story of Phyllis that I forgot to mention when I was speaking or doing so nice with you.
All right, welcome to the Evan Miller Report. We are live at the Eagle Forum Conference here in Orange County at the Avenue of America's Wyndham Hotel. They are giving out some prizes now to the rest of the speakers and to certain people in the audience. They have a raffle going on. So we're going to let them wrap that raffle up real quick here, and then we'll wrap things up here from Orange County on the SHR Media Networks. Let's pause for station identification.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
There's only one left, but you're right. And the other, the younger Republicans want to have a picture. So that's why they have pictures of the U.S. whether that's pictures of college, with girls, or something, but they don't also function. The college has stuff on the public stuff. You don't see that stuff. And so that's myself, help it down, and I was cooking some of the time, so there's everything that this time told that is all about and do the women. So there's the women, they say how to bring smiling and waving photos. And that is Phyllis Leslie, and as Anne, her daughter, said, she has such a strong will. She will die come to the National Conference in September, where we will be honoring her 90th birthday, August 15th. And I'm sure she will be back ready to take off again. Also, I want to thank your attention. One beautiful tiny lady is Rachel. We just want to around with her.
Good evening, folks. This is Jason Miller from the Evan Miller Report. You've been listening to the 14th Annual Eagle Forum Conference here on the SHR Media Networks and on Pundit Press Live, affiliates from across the country, also blogtalkradio.com today. I'm along here with Corey Evan.
Hello, how are you folks doing today?
So we're wrapping up here at the Eagle Forum Conference here in Orange County. We had some great speakers today. Brad Dacus speaking about the opt-out of Common Core here in California and, of course, the parental rights issue, how important it is. We also had some other great guests speaking today. We had a pastor who is running for local office here in the state of California. And, obviously, we've had Orlean speak throughout the day on the issues of Agenda 21 and Common Core. So we're going to go ahead and take a short commercial break, and we will be right back with more right after these messages.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
you got a business. That you didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying half of the stupid promo.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
I'm Lori, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Dr. Larry Arnn on how the founders viewed God as the source of our equality and legal rights.
America's founders knew, obviously, that human beings are not equal in terms of strength or beauty, or in terms of intelligence, industry, or talents. They understood that because of such differences in talents and things like that, some people would be wealthier than others. But human beings are equal, the founders believe, in their possession of natural rights, such as the rights to life, liberty, and property. Today, many Americans reject this equality of rights in order to pursue equality of condition through redistribution, or spreading the wealth around, to use a famous formulation. This is destructive of liberty as the founders understood it.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school board, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PoliticalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PoliticalNetwork.com or Twitter at PoliticalUSA.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to our coverage of the 14th Annual National Eagle Forum Conference. I'm Jason Miller here, and joining us in just a moment will be Tim. Oh, excuse me. Hi, Orlean. You'd like to step in for a minute? We are live on the air here. What a great conference it was today.
Well,
certainly is, even considering we did not have Phyllis here. Certainly a great day of events today.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And what do you hope that people will get out of this conference?
I think they're going to be motivated to be active, especially this wonderful dynamic speaker at the end who is telling the Christians to get out of the salt shaker and get out in the community and stand for light and truth. And he was so inspiring, and that's what this conference is all about. We need to get everyone activated. Knowledge is power, but only if you use it. And that's what we're hoping they will do, is use it.
Absolutely. And if people who missed the conference today want to get a copy of this conference, where can they get a copy of this?
They can go to eagleforumofcalifornia.org and order the entire conference.
All right. Thank you very much. Orlean Koehle, the president of Eagle Forum California. Thank you very much.
Jason, we loved having you here.
Oh, pleasure being here.
The audience maybe didn't hear Jason and Corey, his partner, were honored as our talk show hosts of the year because of their dedication trying to get the truth out about what's going on in our world.
Well, we appreciate that award, and we're honored to receive it. Thank you very much, Orlean. All right. All right, real quickly, let's get Tim Donnelly in here. Tim Donnelly, I see you like that new fashion lifesaver they gave you here. Great speech today, by the way. We're sorry to see that you lost in the governor's race.
Well, thank you.
So a lot of our audience heard what you said today. What is your message to people? Your big fight, of course, in the assembly, and of course your assembly term will finish out this year. What do you have means to do in finishing out your term as assemblyman?
Well, the fight is the same everywhere. It's the government wanting to control more and more of our lives, whether they use the schools with Common Core and this indoctrination, or whether they are coming after our private property rights, or whether they're coming after our faith and our fundamental civil rights, our freedom. Second Amendment. It ain't about whether you like guns. It's about whether you love freedom. And so the fight remains, and I will be in that fight to the finish.
All right, and as far as this Common Core legislation, Orlean has been up there speaking on this, and of course people up in the capitals and on the Education Committee are ignoring her. Have we had any progress on that so far?
So far in the building, there's been no progress. We've tried to educate people, and we've educated a few, but the people that control that committee are absolutely in favor of Common Core, and it's going to take replacing them. There isn't going to be any persuasion.
What can you speak on that possibly in this upcoming election? I heard a report off CalWatchdog.com that it is possible that we could overtake the Democratic majority in this upcoming election. What are your thoughts on that?
I think they're, given the plan that the GOP establishment is working with, which is the Carl Rovian plan, their plan is to lose. The only hope that we have in this state is for the people to rise up, get involved,
identify candidates that are running against the establishment. Because the political establishment, the GOP political establishment in California, has become the greatest threat to our ability to do anything about the greatest threat to our future, which is the government control. And so I think getting involved is the antidote to the big game.
All right, one more question for you, and then we'll wrap it up because I know you need to leave. What is in for your political future? Are you going to run again, or what are you deciding to do with your future?
I don't know what the future holds, but I know who holds it.
All right. God bless you, sir. Thank you very much. That was Tim Donnelly. He's the current assemblyman. Of course, he ran for governor here in the state of California, and he did lose, but he was running and probably was one of the more popular candidates. So many thanks to Tim Donnelly for joining us here on the FML Report live at the Eagle Forum Conference. Go ahead,
what Neil Kashkar is going to be like. We hear he's quite liberal, so it's going to be an interesting election.
I certainly think it is, but I think Jerry Brown will be winning that election because Neil Karpyshyn does not have a very good political record. Obviously, he was responsible for the $700 billion bailout. So only time will tell. We will see what happens, but at least in this newsman's opinion, Jerry Brown, it looks like he's probably going to be winning that race.
Absolutely wonderful.
Absolutely. So, all right, folks, we're going to go ahead and take another short break. And when we come back, we'll be interviewing some more people if we can get a chance to here on the SHR Media Networks, blogtalkradio.com, and Pundit Press Live. Thank you so much for joining us.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, if you care about what's going on in the world, you cannot afford to miss my show. Hi, this is Andrea Kaye, your host of The Andrea Kaye Show. It's not always about the money. Okay, it is always about the money, but it's also about politics, pop culture, and you. The only thing street about this show is the smarts. There's a reason they call me Dynamite in a Dress, and you'll find out why when you listen Tuesday mornings at 10 on Financial News and Talk.
Hello, I'm Paul, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is my professor, Dr. Larry Arnn, on the separation of church and state.
America's founders believed in the separation of church and state, in that the country was not to have an official religion or an official sect. But that did not mean that government was to be hostile to religion, or even indifferent to religion, as many today argue. In fact, America's founding document, the Declaration of Independence, includes both a reference to God as the author of the laws of nature and a confident assertion that human beings are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Far from being hostile or indifferent to religion, America's founders understood the theology of the Declaration to be an essential part of the education of citizens.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey folks, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. As a native Bostonian, my heart broke on April 15, 2013, watching those horrendous attacks at the Boston Marathon. Now there's a way that you can help. Go to onefundboston.org, onefundboston.org, where you can donate to help the victims and families from this awful attack. Onefundboston.org, all the proceeds will go directly to the victim's family. Thank you very much from Sackheads Radio.
And
And welcome back to the special edition of the Evan Miller
Now back
Report.
to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
Okay, thank you very much. We are at the Eagle Forum Conference, which is just now wrapping up here at the Wyndham Hotel at the Avenue of the Arts in Costa Mesa, California, along with Jason Miller. I'm Corey Evan.
All right, thank you very much, Corey. Joining me now is Pastor Rob McCoy. He is running for State Assembly in the 44th District, and a lot of folks heard you. You were talking about what Christians need to get out of the salt shaker, and this is just not in California. This is nationwide. We seem to have a problem in the church when it comes to at least political issues and keeping God in our nation these days.
I think the issue is simply that in 1954 with the Johnson Amendment, when Lyndon Johnson put it in the IRS code that we could lose our tax-exempt status. Prior to 1954, every pulpit in America had election day sermons and also endorsed candidates from the pulpit. And since 1954, we've had a precipitous decline in participation from the pulpits, and most pastors are scared, so we just need to educate them, get them moving.
Now, what do you think? There has been some talk, at least in certain church, outside church, that the separation of church of state just needs to be revoked, because a lot of people, especially the Democratic Party, will use the separation of church and state to tell pastors that they can't talk about issues like abortion and the marriage issue. You know as well as anybody, Prop 8 was defeated big time by the courts here in California, but if the churches were more involved, Prop 8 could have probably stuck.
Right. It's freedom of, not from religion, and it's a civil right. It's the First Amendment. And so the picture is that we need to be active as a church and keep the state out of the church and not the church out of the state.
Right, I understand, and of course we're not endorsing any political candidates per se, but you do agree that we do either need to amend or correct part of the separation of church and state, because a lot of pastors, they'll just point at the tax thing when it comes to the abortion and the marriage issue. They won't talk about it.
Well, I do. And there's a growing number of pastors that do as well. I'm not afraid of that. The church is an organic organization. Half of the churches aren't even 501c3. So there's really not much the IRS can do with it. As a matter of fact, I even send my CDs in and have them come get me if they haven't yet. So.
All right. What's the website? People can go check out your run here in the state of California for the 44th District.
It's called victorymccoy.com. That's, again, victorymccoy.com.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
No problem. All right, folks, I'm walking here on the floor here of the Avenue of America's Wyndham Hotel, and I'm hoping to see if we can get Brad Dacus here in just a moment here. Of course, you're familiar with Brad here. He's been on our program many a times. So we're hoping to get him in just a moment here. Brad Dacus, Jason Miller from the Evan Miller Report. Oh. You're on the air live.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yes, and we've always been following you, especially with the fight on Common Core. Putting a delay on it. How is that battle going so far?
I tell you, I think there's without question, a growing movement of people not only asking questions, but also demanding answers. And that is really refreshing. I think we're going to see this continue to grow. You know, as you know, Oklahoma just recently joined the list of states that have opted out completely from Common Core. As that grows, and as we have a continued contrast, I'm convinced both on the short term, we're going to see more challenges, school district by school district. We're going to see, I think, more school districts initiate parental review committees, as we talked about tonight. And then we're also going to see more states challenged, which as well as we see the long-term effects comparing states that have Common Core versus those that don't. So we at Pacific Justice Institute are very optimistic, I think, in the long term, and are trying to inspire people to lay claim to their rights. Whether it's to opt out of the assessment test as parents, or to blow the whistle when they see their privacy rights being violated through data mining that may be taking place down the road, as well as forming parental review committees for the school district.
Now, of course, we heard in the past couple of days that Bill Gates, who runs the Pearson Foundation, one of the big people who make money off the Common Core assessment test, wants to put a moratorium up to 3 years. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think they see a lot of problems with it. It's very analogous in many ways to Obamacare, in that with Obamacare, there's been one problem after another. We're already seeing that with Common Core.
And that's one reason why I think the only actual mathematician on the validation committee voted against it because it's going to bring down math standards. He thought it was convoluted. It was not tested as it's required. And then we also have people like Dr. Stoutsky, who she was on the validation committee. She voted against it for the English language arts aspects as well. So, I think it's becoming more and more evidence. It's becoming more of something that was put together and tried to be mandated and down everyone's throat before we had a chance to contest it. The more we learn, the more people know that Common Core is a Trojan horse and is, even more importantly, a dumbing down of education for our children. And parents I think the parents of America, as they learn more, will settle for nothing less than reform and opting out of Common Core.
Now, one more question. Another topic that's very popular here in the state of California is the transgender bathroom law that's currently in effect. And, of course, you at the Pacific Justice Institute provided a form to put a current thing on the books to get it outlawed.
Yeah, we drafted the referendum to have this repealed, this hideous piece of legislation letting boys go to girls' locker rooms, change, be naked at the same time the girls were changing and naked. It's unfortunate they have they didn't have gender identity dysphoria. They love sensitivity, compassion, accommodation. But we do not ever sacrifice the privacy of our boys and girls throughout California schools of any child. So the good news is that we're challenging this in the courts. 130,000 signatures were invalidated. We are litigating to have subpoena all those signatures, and we're going to make our case one way or the other before the courts in California, and are hopeful and cautiously optimistic that we will prevail in having at least 17,000, 18,000 of them reversed, which is all we need to get this on the ballot. If not this November, then November 2016. In the interim, even if it is November 2016, this legislation will be stayed and will not be mandated for school districts to carry out. I think that's very important.
So even if there is a delay, and the possibility of this delay is, you think this could get more support?
Yeah, absolutely. And as long as we have it delayed and stayed prior to by the time people in California can vote on it, that's the main thing. And whether it's this November or November 2016, we are very confident that the voters, if they have their chance, their opportunity, which is what we're fighting for, will vote to protect our boys and girls, all boys and girls, and their right to privacy, not to have to change and be naked next to the opposite sex in any public school, locker room, shower, or bathroom for that matter.
When do you expect this to go into court? Do we have an official date, or are we still waiting?
Yeah, it's going back and forth. The Pacific Justice are litigating very intensely on this, and I strongly encourage people to go to our website if they want to keep up with this or like to support our work. We greatly appreciate that. It's pacificjustice.org, pacificjustice.org, pacificjustice.org.
Okay. Any other cases that you think Americans should be following right now, other than these two we've talked about?
Yeah, the prohibition of counseling in California, and also it's in New Jersey now, that prohibits someone under 18 who's struggling with same-sex attraction from being able to get licensed counseling to deal with their same-sex attraction and to help to move away from it. This is very important. This is a law that bans this completely in the state of California. We at Pacific Justice have filed a lawsuit in federal court. We won at the lower court. It was reversed on appeal, and now we filed a petition for certiorari to the United States Supreme Court. We'll know in the next 60 days whether the Supreme Court is going to take that up. And Lord willing, on behalf of the young people who should get the counseling that they want and deserve, hopefully the court, Lord willing, will take that up.
And absolutely, there's some churches out there that already do counseling for this already.
That's right, and exactly, and they can continue on. But those who are licensed counseling, whether with the church, whether they're clergy or not, if they're a licensed counselor, their hands are tied. And no young person should have second-rate counseling or less than top-rated licensed counseling if that's what they feel they needed to deal with something so sensitive and complex, frankly, dealing with the origins of their same-sex attraction feelings and even more importantly, how they can address those and how they should address those.
All right, Brad Dacus from the Pacific Justice Institute, thank you very much for being with us. Great speech.
Thank you, and I'm a fan of Evan Miller, and keep up the great work.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that very much. Thank you, sir. All right, I'm going to go ahead and send it over to Corey, and I will be back just a moment, and we are going to wrap up here at the 14th Annual Eagle Forum Conference here at the Avenue of America's Wyndham Hotel. Corey, take it away. All right, looks like Corey Evans is not at his post at the particular moment. All right, folks, well, that about wraps it up for us here. For more information on today's program, please go to shrmedia.com. They'll have a full podcast of today's broadcast. Also, check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Evan Miller Report.
And don't forget to tweet us at EM Radio Report. We thank you very much for joining us this Saturday for a beautiful conference that we just got.
Absolutely. Well, for Corey Evan, I'm Jason Miller signing off from the Avenue of America's Wyndham Hotel here in Costa Mesa, California. Thank you so much for being with us, and we'll talk to you on Monday at our regular scheduled time of 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on shrmedia.com. I'm Jason Miller. Thank you so much for being with us. Now we'll send it up to our studios up in Sacramento before we wrap up the day's events. So long, everybody.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.